Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Attack Rap. Matt Sanderson alongside GM Dale DeGray here with the Owen Sound Attack. And we've been doing these 30-minute attack raps, Dale, basically all season long. And now we get another opportunity. It's been rare, but we have an hour-long attack rap show. Are you ready to sit here and talk my ear off for an hour?
Well, I think I can handle the conversation. I can usually carry a conversation with the best of them. So no problems at all.
All right. Sounds good. Well, let's kind of go and chat a little bit about your draft picks. It seemed like you guys had some really good opportunities to pick some good players. And from what I heard, you're really happy, especially with that 8th overall pick, your first pick of the draft, of course, picking Colby Barlow. Tell us a little bit about Barlow. I know you mentioned at one point that basically he's a pure goal scorer. Yeah,
Colby's a big, strong kid. You know, he's got a dynamic shot. Listen, first off, he was at one point he was 3rd on our list, and then we moved him to 4th. But we were shocked to be able to get him at the 8th spot for starters. But a tremendous young man, the type of character that we're looking for to bring into Owen Sound. He'll do us all in Owen Sound proud moving forward. Never mind what he's going to be on the ice. Great kid. But yeah, he can shoot the puck, he can score, but he's one of those kids that he's got a big body and he wins battles, he wins space, which lends himself to getting good ice position to score goals. So he's going to be an exciting player. I'm not so sure we've had one of these players in the last number of years, that we've drafted and brought through. We've traded for. Maybe Garrett Wilson might come to mind for me of a guy that could do that. But this kid can really, really score.
When you think back to, you were mentioning the fact that you haven't really had a pure goal scorer per se, especially when his size in here in quite some time. From it being an actual drafted player, what would you say was the last pure goal scorer drafted player that you guys were able to draft?
Well, I think everybody's going to be sitting there saying, say Nick Suzuki. But Nick Suzuki's really, he's a great goal scorer, but he's a way better passer. Maybe a goal scorer might have been for me, and I didn't draft him, but I had to sign him, might be our assistant coach, Joey Hishin. Great skills, very nifty. It's hard for me to think back because when I think of how Colby plays, he's big, he's heavy in front of the net, and the puck just has to come to him. He's got a great release, and it's off his stick in no time. So it's going to be exciting to see how he fits in. And how he fits in with some teammates that might be able to find him and get him the puck on the stick, in those sweet spots and sweet zones in front of the net.
All right, so you didn't have a pick in the 2nd round, but you had 2 picks in the 3rd. You were able to pick with the 42nd pick overall. You're able to pick Cal Ewings, and then you were also able to pick is the last name am I pronouncing it right? Thomas Chaffee.
I call him Chaffee, so I think you're good. I think you're good. Yeah.
All right. Tell us about both of those two, Dale.
Well, we didn't have a 2nd round pick, and Sean LaFortune and I, we mulled over, do we trade to get a 2nd round pick? Do we trade and use it, use picks down the road to get a player that, as I mentioned to Sean, and we talked about this, was that we didn't know this draft as well as we normally did. So we weren't quite sure who was going to be there or who might not be there, even more importantly. So we decided not to make the trade. Had we made the trade, believe it or not, we would have selected Cal Ewings. That's the guy we would have been making the trade to pick up a 2nd round pick to get. So As it turned out, you know, nothing ventured and everything gained, quite frankly, because we got the player that we were really going to make the trade for. And you're going to see that Cal Ewings is a little bit like Santino Santarami, a little bit like Sean Dursey, but as a 16-year-old. And those guys sort of came into their own, at 18 and 19 and 20. Cal Ewings is an ex-forward that has great edges, great puck skills, great passing ability. He has a great sense to the no-look passes. I'm looking forward to seeing him right out of the gate. He needs to get stronger. He's a slighter-framed defenseman, but he's got great feet. He uses his stick well and angles in good position. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think the fans are going to like him moving forward. He'll be a power play guy for us for sure. How fast that comes is going to be up to him to decide. Basically, it'll be up to him. Thomas Chaffee, smaller, skilled, great feet, plays the game at high pace. And, he's some guys can really skate quick and some guys have really good skill and they can't put it together. I think Thomas can play the game at pace with his skill set, which makes him incredibly dangerous. It's interesting because we didn't really, he was at Notre Dame High School in Saskatoon. He came here and skated for a little bit in Marmora when they were having some skates north of Belleville, and we were able to get to watch him skate. And he was a standout every time on the ice. So we sort of targeted him as a guy to really, really focus on if we had the ability to. And we did. We had him in a group of really, really good, shifty, high-tempoed players. And one of those players was gone, and it left us. Our next pick was Thomas, and really, really excited to see him come September.
No, absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see how these young kids unfold and see who can crack the lineup with even some of another full draft class essentially ahead of them that hasn't even proven themselves yet. So it's going to be interesting. We'll chat a little bit more about that in a couple minutes here, Dale. I'm not going to get you to go through everybody because I know it's certainly a lot of draft picks. But in day two, tell me maybe 2 or 3 names that jumped out to you that you guys were able to grab in some of these later rounds.
Well, the two that we were shocked, Conor Thacker was there with our very next pick, and we had really thought he was going on the first day. There's no question. I mean, he's big, he's strong, he's got good feet, he's fluid across the offensive blue line. He can really hit, and that was sort of one of the things, if you think about with Cal Ewings, he's more of a finesse offensive guy. We really wanted to sort of target a guy that can, down the road, offset him and play for a number of years. Maybe they play together, who knows? But he will bring some grit and some size, to that tandem, no matter who he plays with. That's sort of the way that he is. Carl Morey's another guy that I think when we look at it, just a guy with a little bit more size. We were really targeting forwards that had really good skill. He fits that mold. He's one of those, everybody says, 200 foot, can sort of play in all areas. He is one of those players that can really do that. And maybe the one other guy that we were kind of shocked and we didn't see him, we only got to see some video, was Kyle Kim, our very last pick. We actually thought his skill set was warranted to go on the first day. He's an American. He's an American, but he's only been playing in the U.S. in hockey, U14, U15. He's actually of Korean descent, grew up in Korea. So it's a very interesting story, but he can really play. I would say he's more of a defensive type guy than an offensive guy, but he can really move pucks head's always on a swivel, big body guy that has really good feet. But he's the one that we were a little bit shocked was still there in the 15th round. And we looked at, at that point, do you take a guy that is a 5% chance of making your team or less? Or if it's a 5% chance that we get Kyle Kim to come to camp, it's probably, 100% that he makes our team. So we sort of played the odds, and we're looking to maybe go with maybe a more impactful guy if we're able to land him and get him to Owen Sound.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be certainly a nice thing to have Kim in that roster if he's able to go and crack it. Certainly a lot of competition. Before we get to that, though, just want your thoughts here, Dale, on the Sarnia Sting going and selecting. This is a game changer. This is history in the making. But Taya Curry, a goaltender out of Elgin Middlesex. Your thoughts on that selection?
Listen, it's I played in the IHL when Manon Rion played, so I can tell you I'm actually surprised that it hasn't happened by now. Quite frankly, I mean I've watched female and girls hockey. You watch the women's Olympic team. It's amazing, quite honestly. You would watch and you would be amazed the way that they skate. They skate just like men. So I think it's amazing. Now, to draft the goalie, listen, there's no physicality there. So I think she's probably got as good a chance as anybody if they're high on her. She was on our list, but we weren't really in the process of looking for goaltenders. But listen, I'm ecstatic for her to get an opportunity and see how it plays out. And good for Sarnia for giving her a chance. I think it's remarkable. I wish her all the best. I hope one day that we get to see her and play against her, like I had the opportunity to see Manon Rion play many years ago, but she may have been the first.
Absolutely. No, that would be definitely a defining moment there, but congratulations to the Curry family as well, because that's a big one for sure. Now let's go and kind of jump into the dissection of the roster. And listen, you're the GM. You don't. At the end of the day, you probably have an input in whatever, but it's really down to head coach Alan Letang and whatnot of kind of who ends up there, or who ends up where, and whatnot between you and him, anyways. Your thoughts on the two draft classes you have coming up in the competition, because now, Dale, you're going to be in the exact same position as everyone else in the OHL at that point, but this is going to be a little bit of a tougher lineup to crack, I think.
You know what? It's you got Cedric Guidon, Gavin Bryant from last year that we're very, very high on. Madden Steen, but now you bring in this year's class of young kids. It makes it tough, but I know I had Sean LaFortune do an exercise where I asked him to get man games from the rosters that were left over, and there's a team that has just over 300 man games on their roster right now, and there's 4 teams that have just over 1,000. Most of us are in the 600 to 700 range. So, and I'm saying most of us, it's something like 12 or 13 of us have in that 600-700 range, or 700-800 range. So it's going to be interesting. We're all in the same boat. We're all missing 7 or 8 players, like holes to fill moving forward. It's going to be a young league. There's going to be a huge learning curve, and there's going to be some mistakes. And I think any true diehard major junior fan is a fan sometimes because of the mistakes that are there and how teams can capitalize on them or not, but you generally try to capitalize on them. That creates scoring opportunity. And the one thing that I think our fans in Owen Sound are accustomed to is that our kids are going to be trying every night. We know we're trying, It's pedal to the metal. It's drop of the puck to the final buzzer. And for these kids, it's going to be very interesting, and they're going to all warrant ice time from time to time, and they'll probably all have some ice time taken away. But I'm actually really looking forward to seeing, come September, and with the the health minister or sport giving us the opportunity to possibly play. I think it's very exciting times for everybody in the league moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have not heard yet, maybe you've turned your notifications off on your Twitter feed or something there. Yes, the OHL is actually slated to begin at the end of October this season and actually carry their season on until the end of April, leaving the Memorial Cup obviously into June, and then playoffs obviously in between. So that's a big thing there, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, that everything stays away and stays the same. And boy, isn't it going to be nice, Dale, to have Roars back in the Bayshore again.
Well, I think any hockey fan that's watching Hockey Night in Canada and watching the NHL's playoffs, and I mean, I watched it last night when Montreal took to the ice and in Vegas, and that's just a ridiculous gong show of support that, it's almost unimaginable. But man, it's a great feeling, and I know what it's like being in the Bayshore and how thrilled and jacked up the kids are, with the sellout fans, sellout crowd we have at the Bayshore. So no, I can't wait. I can't wait till we're able to have 100% capacity in there and try to pack it. And I hope that everybody will want to be there because I think it'll be a real special night.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be long overdue. That is for sure. Let's talk about Dale, the 5 overagers that aren't going to be coming back, and I know it's tough because you guys had the opportunity to really have a strong overage core this year. Your thoughts on those 5 guys, and maybe what you ended up saying to them going forward?
Yeah, you know what? Listen, when you have overages, I know what it's like to stand in the room at the end of it all and see their faces when they know there's no more junior hockey. And I know what it's like to be on. It comes in September when this year we had 5 guys, and every one of them would have been standouts on any team that they had a chance to play for. So I think really, when you really think about overages, they lay it all on the line, and some of them have done it for 4 years, some of them done it for 5 years. And they really have, whether it was with us or with the other teams that we traded for to bring them in, they're truly committed to the league, and that's why they've stayed there. But, you look at, Popoff, Pearson, Kerwin, McMaster, Robertson. I mean, these guys, great players, yes, but great individuals. And if we were, I don't want to just select any of the 3 that we would have had, but any of those 3 would have been standouts in Owen Sound. The other two for sure would have been standouts wherever they went. But we can only thank them for their time, not just in commitment to Owen Sound, but I really do. That's where I'm going with this, is that to look at it as their commitment to the league, because it's the league product that they're really playing for. Yes, they'd wear an Attack jersey, but they're standout individuals, and they would have been standout players for sure moving forward.
Yeah, so all the best to those 5 guys, and hopefully the next crop of overagers coming through the system will actually be able to have some time, get out on the ice, and really put a good product there. Dale, when you go and you look at the team that you have going forward this year, I think it's funny because I've been broadcasting this team for quite some time, and I almost feel like every single year the Attack are always a team that are underestimated. People aren't necessarily picking us.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
I don't mind that.
no,
I don't mind that.
for sure. Everybody's kind of not slotting us up in the top 2, 3, or 4 teams or whatever, but you look at the crop of talent that you have here going forward. What are your expectations for this upcoming season?
Well, I think, listen, we're making the playoffs. I can tell you that. I tell all the parents that for the kids. That's my guarantee. But you look at our goaltending, you look at our defense. I think that in itself gets you in the playoffs. We always find a way to manufacture goals. Every year, even internally, we as a staff can say, well, how are we going to get goals? There's always somebody who steps up and is accountable for producing goals. So they're going to come regardless. But I think preventing goals is huge and will be huge this year because, like I said, it's going to be a young league. So if we can prevent goals and we can obviously have the defense to move pucks out of our zone, I think we're going to be on the attack more than people are going to think. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it because you're going to have some young kids, and I can promise you these young kids are going to be skilled and ready to go. It's a matter of how quickly they adjust to the rigors of major junior hockey and playing 3-on-3 and getting on the bus and getting off a bus and then going to play. It's a difficult situation, and the kids that didn't get a chance last year, yes, they're older, stronger, and all of that, but they're not sort of vetted into the league like they would have been had we played. So it's going to be interesting. I really like our skill set, and we've got enough veterans coming back that I think we'll be heard from.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to kind of just quickly switch gears here, and I kind of want to reminisce on, I know you had the opportunity of having Nick Suzuki in this building on the team. The fans had the opportunity of watching Nick Suzuki for all those years. You see him now. He's now into the semifinals, in the playoffs. Yes, they have lost one game, but I mean, they've really shocked a lot of people. But is it for you? Is it kind of a surprise per se that Montreal has done so well, or the fact of Nick Suzuki and maybe some of his influence or whatever, and what you're seeing from him out there doesn't really surprise you?
Well, I'll talk about Nick first. But, you know what? Nick's exactly the way he was. He plays exactly the same way he did for us, and he plays exactly the same way he did in minor midget, and that is he uses his head so well. He thinks. He makes hockey plays every shift. So regarding Nick, that's not a surprise for me, not at all. I think that what he's been able to show, I think, is remarkable at the NHL level. But I kind of think, Matt, that the Montreal Canadiens' luck might be running out in this series. I just think Vegas is too big, too strong, too skilled for Montreal. You know what? I give Montreal a ton of credit. They stick to their game plan, and they just keep, they're tenacious on forechecks. They've got enough skill to make things happen when they get opportunities. And let's not kid ourselves. They've got one of the best goalies in the world, and he's playing like one of the best goalies in the world. So that's going to give you a pretty good chance every night. But I think they're up against it in Vegas.
Absolutely. The one interesting thing that I kind of noticed was you go and you watch how these playoffs broke down, and Owen Sound was pretty well represented in the sense of graduates, Owen Sound alumni in the National Hockey League. These playoffs, you've got obviously Nick Suzuki, Jordan Binnington over with the St. Louis Blues. You've got Wayne Simmons with the Toronto Maple Leafs there. I'm probably missing a couple of others there that came in that mix. But Dale, you sit back and you kind of look at it and say, you know what? I've seen some of these people come through. The product is there that you're able to tell these parents every single time, look at the success in the NHL. Your thoughts on that?
No, listen, it's definitely a selling point, and hey, let's not kid ourselves. One of the things that irks me the most, and it's one reason I don't like trading star players, is when they say Nick Suzuki from Guelph. I'm like,
Yeah,
you're kidding me here,
I know.
So yes, and he's from London, but what about what's in between from London and Guelph? There's a number of years in there, but you know what? Yeah, you do, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that these kids have come through and developed in Owen Sound wearing our jersey, and they do us proud, and I can tell you, it doesn't necessarily always get noted, but they're proud Owen Sound attackers, and we should all be proud of that when we watch that we were able to sit and watch these kids, playing for the Attack, and maybe friends or relatives or neighbors were sitting beside these kids in school and stuff like that. So it really is. There's a lot of pride that goes with having a junior A team in your city and watching some of these kids develop into National Hockey League players and sometimes stars.
Dale, I know you reside in Oshawa, but I know you've got obviously close connections and whatnot. Only a couple of minutes here before we go to break, but I'll quickly ask you this. What does it mean for the city of Owen Sound to have the Bears back playing at the Bayshore this year? Well,
listen, you only have to go to a home game with the sellout. And, I can tell you, I have a clip on my phone from 2011 when we won in Owen Sound in the playoffs to go down to play Game 7. And it's an easy reminder for me just to click it and see the craziness that is Owen Sound fans. And that is only meant in the most favorable, lovable, enduring way, because as an ex-player, there's nothing better than, and I tell this kid to all the kids that we recruit, yes, we're the smallest market. Yes, we have the smallest building, but we probably have the biggest big time feel when it comes to game on ice presence. And that's nothing to do with me. That's all to do with the fans in Owen Sound. So for me, it's a big time place in my heart, and it's easy for me to sell that to the kids coming up that are 15 and 16 to their parents.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't had the opportunity yet this over the last couple of years to be able to catch a game at the Bayshore, we highly recommend it. But listen, we got a long show here. This is going to be an hour-long show. We're kind of get back into the swing of things here. We're going to step aside. We're going to give you a commercial break. Be right back here with more of GM Dale DeGray here on Attack Wrap on Rogers TV. Go get your refreshment.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Now you can enjoy the Amazon Prime Video app on Ignite TV. Just say Amazon Prime Video into your Ignite voice remote and watch Amazon originals like The Expanse.
They wanted to fight. We'll give them one.
The Wilds.
Are we in the actual Bermuda Triangle?
And The Boys.
That is amazing.
Prime members can stream Amazon originals, movies, TV shows, and more on Ignite TV today. Now you're in command.
Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m., it's the RTV Quiz. Giovanni Petiti hosts a weekly trivia competition that lets you play from the comfort of your couch. Play along at home and challenge your friends. And don't forget to follow along on social media. Let us know who's top of trivia, and you can find yourself featured on a future episode.
Are you kidding me, folks?
The RTV Quiz, Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. on Rogers TV or at rogerstv.com/RTV Quiz.
of Attack Wrap. Right now, we're joined and continue to be chatting with GM Dale DeGray from the Owen Sound Attack. Dale, we kind of talked a little bit about this draft that recently passed, but you look at this team that you have getting ready to come out on the ice this year and kind of going into training camp. What do you think, especially this year, from some of these young kids, are going to be expectations in the sense of work ethic? Mainly what I'm trying to get at is, what do you think these coaches are going to want to see from these kids after not really seeing 2 draft classes worth of kids?
Yeah, listen, that's, and like we said earlier, that's going to be a lot of the same around a lot of the league. So it's good knowing that that's the case. You know what I mean? So expectations, I think are going to have to come from within, internally, to put expectations on individuals and groups and all of that. But I mean, I look at the forwards and I see great skills, great feet, great skating abilities. It's going to be interesting to see how they mesh. Do you put 2 young kids with 1 veteran? Do you put 2 veterans with 1 young kid? Because they're going to add some skill. They're going to drive some of these lines. I know that right out of the box, they're going to drive the lines to play at a high pace and play with some skill. So I think it's like I said, it's going to be interesting, and the coaches are going to have some challenging times. But I think if you're worth your weight in salt, you're going to enjoy the challenge of identifying who can do what and how well, and that's what they get paid for, not me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kind of go back to Colby Barlow here, and I know he was a highly sought after pick for you guys. Let's get Colby's perspective on this. When you called him and kind of chatted with him and maybe his family, Dale, what was kind of running through the kid's head? What was the excitement level like? Well,
I'll be honest with you. I'm going to say that I sensed that he was maybe disappointed he didn't go in the top 5, because that's the one thing that I think we all have to remember is these are 15-year-olds, and a lot of these kids have been told that they're a top 3 pick, a top 2 pick, whatever it was. And I don't know exactly where it was that he was told he was going to go. But I can tell you this, that when I got on the phone with him and talked to him about coming to Owen Sound, he was ecstatic. He knew a lot about Owen Sound. I know that his family has some ties to Owen Sound. Some family friends that are in Owen Sound, so he knows about it. So there's a comfort factor there right from the get-go, which I think is great for a 15-year-old, knowing where he's going. There's going to be maybe some familiar faces at the Bayshore right from day one.
Was there anything that jumped out to you from like a personal player standpoint that just kind of makes you smile and realize, you know what, this is one of the reasons why I love doing what I'm doing?
Well, it's funny there. You get a chance like Colby I interviewed beforehand. It's always interesting to talk to the kids after we selected them when you didn't talk to them pre-draft. And this year it was tough to talk to many kids because, one, we were picking 8th, so I really only had to talk to about 5 first-round picks that I thought were going to possibly come to me. And with Colby, quite honestly, I spoke to him only because I knew that he had ties to Owen Sound, did not think we were going to get him. But the one boy, Cal Ewings, who I know was truly hoping that we drafted him, and when we didn't get a second-round pick, I think he was heartbroken because he did not think he was going to get to us at the 3rd pick in round 3. But what was really interesting about this was where he is from. When I spoke to his father, they have a farm in and around Napanee, and their property, I will guarantee it, backs onto my grandparents' property in Napanee, which
Wow.
I said some names of reference points that I knew when I worked as a kid on their dairy farm, and Cal Ewing's dad knew exactly what I was talking. I said we would go over MP Hill, and he goes, "We're 2 minutes from MP Hill," and I'm going, "You're kidding me!" It just blew me away that as far apart as we are in age, you know what I mean, that we would have a connection so many years later of some really formalities, quite frankly, that we're both familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I get to the next thing that I quickly do want to ask you about, because we'll mention quickly about the other draft that we were able to get into here, and just the U18 very quickly. I did want to ask you, from you going and being a GM of this organization, is there a draft day moment that kind of sticks out to you in your head?
Oh, this year I would say no, because honestly, Matt, I said, we focused on who we were maybe going to get in that top 8 picks. We really did. We didn't have a second, and if you really think about it, we didn't have a real good chance to look at all these players. And normally we've got these kids, let's say 1 to 300, and we know each kid. Like, we have a reason to select each kid and we got them in a certain spot because of stuff. So this year was a lot of, I can tell you, I don't want to go through it again. I watched a ton of video, which made it very difficult. So I knew that it was going to be a little bit screwy after our 8th pick moving forward. And it really, I don't want to say that it played out that way, but we got a 2nd round pick in the 3rd round that we thought for sure wouldn't be there. So just those sort of things are surprising, but not really surprising under the, sort of the pretense of how the draft was going to play out without us really seeing the kids as much as we normally would.
Absolutely. Just kind of quickly here before we get to Mark McKelvie, who's actually had the chance to catch up with your first 3 picks there in this most recent draft. Your thoughts on OHL priority selection and how you guys fared
with the U18 or the just the priority.
Just the U18. Sorry.
Yeah. So we went out looking for. We wanted to get some skill. We definitely got that. We've always used it to get some depth, and we've certainly done that. We've really skilled forward that's actually grown from 5'2" to 5'9" over the course of basically a year and a half, and a defenseman that's going to add some bulk and some size moving forward. But we've always tried to use that as adding depth to the draft or to the training camp, and I think we once again we did that. It'll be interesting to see moving forward how everybody fits together.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to definitely see how that pans out as well. But listen, Dale, we really appreciate being able to go and catch up with you. It's always a lot of fun. We always have a lot to talk about, certainly. So hopefully all the best to you, and hopefully we can see you soon.
Matt, thanks a lot.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, so we're going to go over to Mark McKelvie with our interviews here. So check these out.
And I am pleased to be joined by the newest crop for the Owen Sound attack, the most recent selections from the 2021 OHL priority selection, Owen Sound's top 3 picks. With us now, we've got Colby Barlow, Cal Ewings, and Thomas Chafe. Gentlemen, welcome to Attack Wrap. Welcome to Owen Sound. It's obviously a little different, but I guess we're all used to this whole virtual meeting thing by now. You guys were selected most recently in the 2021 priority selection. Most years, and I'll admit it myself, I would have a good opportunity to get out and catch a lot of the games of the draft eligible players and really know who was on the radar. But if you weren't out watching a couple years ago, for most fans, you guys might be a little bit unknown. So we got a great opportunity to get to know all three of you. And I'm going to start off with yourself, Colby. You were selected in the first round by the Attack, 8th overall. Tell us a little bit about what draft night was like for you, and were the Attack on your radar? Obviously, getting selected in the first round is a big accomplishment. Take us through that experience.
So yeah, Friday night was definitely a memorable night, an amazing night, where me and my family gathered around the TV and we're waiting, to see where I ended up and where my next chapter is going to be. And I did talk to Owen Sound prior, a couple weeks before, and, we had conversation. I didn't know 100% I was going to come here during the draft, but it got to Owen Sound and they selected me, and what an honor. I mean, it's so excited. I've heard such great things, and I'm just so excited to get started with you guys.
For yourself, Cal, we'll move on to you. You were selected 42nd overall. Now, the OHL priority selection was done a little differently this year, where instead, as in past years, where it would have been all in one day, they split it up and had the first 3 rounds on the Friday night. You were selected in the 3rd round. What was your expectations going into the draft? And tell us what that moment was like when you saw your name called.
Yeah, so it was a super fun night for myself and my family. Owen Sound, ever since I had my first call with the Attack, has always been really, really high on my radar. I was really hoping that I'd get a chance to be in Attack. And then the way the lottery fell out, I didn't know if I was going to get that chance. So when I saw my name called by the Owen Sound Attack, I was super honored and excited. And like Colby said, I just can't wait to get started.
And Thomas, you were selected just 5 picks later, so also in the 3rd round, 47th overall. Very similar question. Were the Attack on your radar, and how was your draft experience? How did you watch it on that night? Were you surrounded by family?
Yeah, the Attack were definitely on my radar. I had a phone call with them just a few weeks before the draft. I wasn't for sure where I would go. But yeah, I'm really pumped for the Attack. They are a great organization. I'm really pumped up and ready to go for the year. And then kind of how my draft night went is me and my parents, we were huddled around the TV, and then kind of hearing my name was like a surreal feeling. They both came over and gave me big hugs, and then the phone call started ringing. My brother, he goes to school at UBC. So he gave me a phone call right away, congratulated me. Then my aunt from Newfoundland, she gave me a phone call. And then my coaches from Saskatchewan, where I played this year, gave me a phone call too right after. So really all around the country were giving me phone calls, and it was really something I'll never forget.
Pretty much coast to coast, you had it covered there. And we'll get a little bit into your background in just a moment. I want to go through with all three of you just what the last year has been like. It was not a normal season. As everyone is aware, the OHL did not even play. How much time did you guys spend on the ice? I'll start with you, Colby, a member of the Toronto Marlboros program, but and a native. Tell us how you ended up playing with the Marlboros, and what was the last year like for you?
So yeah, I ended up playing with the Marlboros because I was in the Brick tournament, and then I got recruited to go down to Toronto, and I played a few seasons. I played with JRC first, and then Toronto Red Wings, and then the last 3 years, which would have been our 3rd year with the Marlies. But yeah, this last year, definitely a crazy one for everyone. You got to I took advantage of every time I was on the ice, because you never know with restrictions and such when you're going to be back. So that's definitely crazy, but just doing everything I can to better myself, keeping a positive attitude for the future, and, a great future lies ahead, and I'm excited.
And Cal, you were with the Quinty program, a program that the Owen Sound Attack are very familiar with. What was the last season like for you? How much time did you get to spend on the ice? I know in different parts of the province, there was opportunities to play a little bit, whether that was 4-on-4. Obviously, it was very different. But what type of on-ice activity were you taking part in over the past winter?
Yeah, well, I was very fortunate to play for such a great organization like Quinty. Our coach put in a lot of work to make sure that all our guys were getting the right exposure they needed for the upcoming draft. So I was getting more ice time than I ever have. I was on the ice pretty well every day, and I got to give big thanks to my coach, Tyler Longo, because he made that all happen for the boys.
And Thomas, you already mentioned it. You were playing in Saskatchewan with the Notre Dame Hounds program, a program that is very well known in this country in the hockey circles. Tell us how that came about for you. You're a native of Ottawa.
Oh, well, technically, originally, I'm from Newfoundland. I moved to Ottawa when I was 12. So from a young age in Newfoundland, you really have to get off the rock if you want to go far in hockey. So prep schools were kind of in my mind from a young age. So I moved to Ottawa, and after a few years, it was still kind of in my mind that I wanted to see what the prep school life was like. So I made the choice to go to Notre Dame, and it's been a great 2 years. And now I'm really excited to come to the OHL. But more about the ice time is, luckily Saskatchewan, we were on the ice the whole year. Also because we're a closed community in Wilcox, Saskatchewan, so we were on the ice every day throughout the whole year. It was really our school's ice, so we didn't have any COVID restrictions or anything like that in that sense, but we did only get to play 6 games of regular season hockey. So it was it was a big development year for me, and I really took advantage of all I could.
Well, obviously a big advantage, like you said, to have been on the ice all winter long. Quickly, maybe just to kind of piggyback off that for Colby and Cal, for you guys, was there any point during the past winter where you were really concerned about the fact that, not getting to play a normal year was really going to impact where your hockey career might head in the next year? I'll start with you, Colby.
Yeah, it was pretty tough when reality hit, when we're not going to have a full season and we're not going to get the proper ice and training that we should. But I was fortunate enough to go to King Heights Academy, where I was on the ice with my school during those times too, as well. So I was getting my training in, I was getting that, but game shape is completely different than training shape. So definitely missing out on games. We had games here and there with Elite Showcase and such things like that. But yeah, the training was good, but the game shape's different, right? And we missed out on a big part of that. And it's tough to wrap your head around, but just keeping a positive mindset and doing the best I can to make myself prepared for next year.
What about for you, Cal?
Yeah, so when it first happened, I didn't really know what to expect. And, obviously it's really sucks missing out on your probably the most exciting year of hockey of your life, missing out on the OHL Cup, Silver Stick tournaments, all those big tournaments. It's definitely unfortunate that we had to miss all those, but I think that we really made the most of it, and we're just able to keep putting in the work and get ready for the draft.
It's obviously going to be very, like we said, but hopefully light at the end of the tunnel. So it's going to be very different. Hopefully next season, everybody can be on the ice regularly. And right now the target is for an OHL season to start in October. But, you guys mentioned it, that minor midget season is so crucial typically. And just the events that you have year long, especially down around in the Toronto area, if you want to really highlight somewhere like that, where you have the Titans tournament early on, and like you said, Silver Stick to the Marlies tournament over Christmas, and even the Gold Cup, which is after the draft typically. So, you guys maybe haven't had necessarily the exposure that past draft groups would have had. But with that being said, it appears there's going to be big opportunity for players like yourselves to step in next season in the OHL and to try and crack these rosters and to solidify a spot with just basically now 2 years of players having graduated since the last time that we saw OHL hockey. I'll start first with you, Colby. It's time to dive in and learn a little bit about the player you are on the ice. And right away, I read from Attack head scout Sean LaFortune, pure goal scorer. People love to hear that. Tell us a little bit about your game.
So yeah, goal scoring is a big part of my game, but I also play the big, strong, mean compete game as well. I can put the puck in the net, and I like to do it under pressure as well. I can put the puck in the net when I need to, but I have the mindset to make the play if that shot's not there as well. And I'm also, on top of a goal scorer, I'm a gritty player too. I like to get down in the corners, battle, and make the play out of the corner. So I love to do that. I love to compete hard, and I love to work hard and do whatever it takes to win for the team, for sure.
Cal, for yourself, a defenseman, tell us a little bit about your game. Are you stay at home? Do you like to jump up into the play?
Yeah, so I'm a 200-foot defenseman, but I really try to dictate the pace of play. I love to jump in and generate offense off the rush, but I can also play a puck possession game and really slow the game down. I actually wasn't a defenseman up until halfway through a major band of season. So I am super versatile, and I can be used in any other position or situation, whether it's power play, penalty kill, or throwing me up on the wing, or need to win a draw or something. So I can play any position you need me to.
And the Attack have a pretty strong D-core coming back next season, so there'll obviously be a lot of good veterans to really learn from as you try to jump in. For yourself, Thomas, what about you? A forward, a right winger. Tell us about your game.
Yeah, so my game is really modeled around my hockey IQ. I really pride myself on thinking the game quickly, and that really lets me kind of dictate the play and kind of see all the options, then use my speed and my quick edges to kind of dictate the play and decide whether the best option is. And then I also I try to make the best play all the time. I know either you can pass it or shoot it, so I kind of make sure I do both. And I'm just really a team player who takes pride in the offensive zone, but I take just as much pride in my defensive zone as well.
Now I'm going to ask you guys this question, which, and again, you don't have to put too much stock into it, but who would be a player if you had to pick one that you like to model your game after? I'll start with you, Colby.
I'd say it's a little two-part. I mean, I'm like goal scoring side and my release, my shot, Austin Matthews, but overall a big power forward like Josh Anderson, plays with pace, compete, and as long as a skilled game, he plays a mean game as well.
Well, the Attack like to play a physical game at times. There's no doubt about that. Playing in the Bayshore, it's a physical barn, so you certainly need that edge to you. What about for you, Cal?
Well, I'd say Jared Spurgeon. You know, he's a smaller guy like myself, but he doesn't let that change the way he plays. He'll take on the bigger guys in the corners. You know, he relies heavily on his good positioning and having a good stick in the D zone, but he's also a very good puck mover and is a great skater.
And for you, Thomas?
Well, like Colby, I kind of have two players I usually go to is Mitch Marner. I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, so I kind of have a little bias there, just his kind of vision and his playmaking ability. And then also Brad Marchand, just given that he's a little bit of an undersized player, but he's not scared to go in the corners and he's very skilled. I just don't take his penalty antics. I tend not to do that side. I focus more on his skill ability.
Probably a good thing to say right now as you try to impress some coaches that you'll be staying out of the penalty box. For all three of you, how familiar were you with the Owen Sound Attack organization? I know going into the draft, you probably got at least a dozen teams on your radar, so you're learning little bits and pieces. But the Attack organization is one that's been very consistent with their success for quite some time now, a real long streak of making the playoffs. Of course, they won a championship 10 years ago, and even since then, a few years back, went to the Western Conference Finals. It's a program that's got recent graduates like Nick Suzuki, Jordan Binnington, for example, a Stanley Cup champion. How much have you known about the Attack and since the draft? How much have you been studying up and learning a bit about the history of the organization? I'll start with you, Colby.
Yeah, after I got my first call with Dale, I looked up Owen Sound and did some research. It looks like a great community. I've heard great things about the community, the fans, the organization. Everything is awesome. I looked at you guys also do have a really good a winning pedigree, and you produce some great players like you said, Nick Suzuki and Jordan Binnington. So that's really exciting. And I know the coaches there are great and they develop amazing players. So that's really exciting to look forward to. And I just can't wait to meet everybody face to face there in the organization and the fans in the community.
Did you know much about Owen Sound, Cal?
I didn't until like Colby, and I had my first call with Owen Sound. I knew that they're in the mix. Then I started researching them and getting to know the area a little better. I was very happy to find out that it's a smaller town, as I'm not a big city kid. I live out in the country, so it's much more comfortable for me to go to somewhere like Owen Sound rather than a big city. I always knew that they've produced some great players out there, so hopefully they can help me get to the next level.
And for you, Thomas?
Yeah, like they both said, I didn't know too much about Owen Sound before getting some calls, but after that I did some research and noticed that they're a smaller community, which kind of takes me back to my roots in Newfoundland and growing up there for 12 years. So it's kind of like coming home for me. And I also know that they're a first-class organization who takes pride in their team play, and they're a very team-oriented team. So I'm really excited to kind of get in the mix there and get to meet the rest of the team.
A lot of people would say that the Attack are, pretty much the heart of the community. There's no doubt about that in the winter, that you can't go very far without hearing about the Owen Sound Attack. Before we wrap things up, guys, I want to ask some fun questions just to learn a bit about you guys away from the rink. I'll have a different question for all three of you. I'm going to start with you, Colby. As my lights go out, apparently. That's all right. That's a little strange, but I'll ask you a question here. For you, what kind of music do you listen to? What gets you pumped up on game day? And what is maybe an artist or a group that you listen to that maybe is a guilty pleasure, one that people would be surprised to know is on your playlist?
I don't know if it's surprising. I mean, I'm kind of from up north, so I like country, but I love country music. Eric Church, he's absolutely amazing. So I love to listen to him, and people be surprised. I do listen to country sometimes before games too. I mean, it gets you feeling good, get you flowing. It's great, but also I love the Killers. Great band. Mr. Brightside, great song, gets me fired up. So definitely those two for sure.
For you, Cal, what's your go-to sport outside of hockey?
I'm a big golfer. I used to golf pretty competitively, and I just recently gave that up just so I can really focus on my training for hockey.
All right. How's the game been this summer?
It's been a little iffy. I don't know if we'll talk about that one right now.
Fair enough. Well, obviously there's some good golf courses up around Owen Sound. And for you, Thomas, you talked a little bit about your roots out on the East Coast. If you had to maybe give somebody a little bit of a kind of a tour guide, if you were kind of mapping out a trip for them, what would be some spots they should hit up out east?
Well, I know the obvious answer would be like Signal Hill. It's kind of like the landmark there, but we just have some really nice stores too that are not necessarily like the big McDonald's and stuff like that, but they're kind of like hometown food where, it's more Newfoundland kind of food. And I feel like if you were going to come around, you'd probably want to go there just to kind of get a feel for that. And then kind of where I lived, just kind of go there. We have some nice hotels there, but you'd really get to kind of see the community and see how we're all kind of one close knit and everyone kind of gets along and we kind of do everything together.
Lastly, guys, before I wrap things up, certainly to get to this point, you need a lot of help. We'll go with each and every one of you to maybe point out a mentor, somebody that has been a huge influence in helping you get to where you are. I'll start with you, Colby.
Yeah, definitely. My whole family's been just my biggest supporter. So much sacrifice we put into all of this, and finally see where we're going with our next chapter is really special. But definitely my older brother, someone I can always talk to, always, express my feelings no matter what they are. And he'll talk to me no matter the time of day. And he's definitely been a big help and with my mental game and definitely preparing me for the OHL.
And for you, Cal?
Yeah, no, I there's so many people I could thank for what they've done for my hockey career. But, I have to give big thanks to my family, everything they've sacrificed so I can be where I am today. But probably one of the biggest role models for me has been my coach, Tyler Longo. He's been with me a while now, and he really pushes me to be better every day. So for sure, him.
And Thomas?
I'd say my brother and my parents, like Colby said. My parents, just because they made a lot of sacrifice. We moved to Ontario from Newfoundland, which is a big step for us. And then it was a hard decision to go to Saskatchewan and leave them at a young age, but they were on board with that, and it was better for my development. So they were completely on board. And then my brother, my oldest brother, he's in UBC now. He always had a little bit of a tougher hockey path, but he always persevered and always made it to the goal. He started really from the bottom and made it to the top at his end of his career. So he was always someone I looked up to when I was younger, and in the way he never gave up and he never let maybe a team cutting him kind of get in his way. And in the end, he made it to his goal, which is something I'll always remember.
Well, great answers all around there, gentlemen. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you here. It's just a quick introduction, but this has been great. And I know Attack fans really appreciate it. 3 really well-spoken young men who are going to hopefully be part of the Owen Sound Attack in the future. And guys, I can't wait for training camp to get going. I'm sure you guys are feeling the exact same way. Enjoy the rest of your summers. Enjoy your training. And we look forward to seeing you up in Owen Sound very soon.
Sure,
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
This June on Crave, get a front row seat to the biggest movies.
Then here,